Imagine a country where the streets are boiling with anger, where people chant death to the leader and burn symbols of power, and where the government responds by cutting off the internet so the world cannot see what's happening. This is Iran in early 2026, where the largest protests in years have shaken the streets of Tehran and cities across the nation. But there is more. This is not just an economic uprising. It has spiraled into a political shutdown with the United States and Israel. A US president, yes, Donald Trump, has openly hinted he may use force if Iran crosses certain lines. And right now, tensions are so high that some analysts warn of a war between Israel and Iran that could erupt sooner than anyone expected. Today, we're telling you the latest on the ground story in Iran, the external pressure at play, and why this moment could mark a turning point for the Middle East, USA, and Israel. This is Denzel speaking, and welcome to the World of Intrigue. Iran is angry, and this time the anger feels different. In early January, protests erupted across the country, not in one city and not for one night, but in multiple provinces at the same time. Tehran, mossad, Isfahan, and other major cities saw crowds filling the streets, shouting openly against the system. What began as a frustration over rising prices quickly turned into something far more dangerous for the regime, a direct challenge to its authority. The economy is collapsing under pressure. Food prices continue to rise, fuel costs are unbearable, and the national currency keeps losing value. For many Iranians, daily life has become a struggle to survive. But this wave of protest is not only about money. Protesters are no longer asking for a solution or reform. They are questioning the entire political structure and the future they were promised for decades. As the crowds grew, videos began spreading rapidly online. Scenes showed clashes with security forces, fires burning in the streets, and protesters surrounding government buildings. The atmosphere felt tense, chaotic, and uncontrollable. Then suddenly, the images stopped. Internet and mobile networks were shut down across large parts of the country, a move the Iranian authority have used before during moments of extreme pressure. When the internet goes dark, it usually signals fear of losing control of the narrative. Human rights groups report mass arrest and violation and violent crackdowns. Dozens of protesters have been killed, hundreds more detained. Families search for loved ones who never return home. The government insists it is restoring stability, but the streets tell a different story. This is no longer just a protest, it's a test of power between the state and its people. And this is where the situation becomes far more dangerous. Iran is not isolated from the world's conflict. It's already under heavy sanctions, already locked in silent confrontation with Israel, and already under constant surveillance by Western intelligence agencies. Internal unrest at this scale sends a powerful signal beyond Iran's border, a signal of vulnerability. Moments like this are watched closely in military war rooms. Instability inside Iran raises a question that makes regional powers nervous. If the regime is distracted by protest at home, is it weaker abroad? And if Iran appears weakened, could its enemies see this as a rare window of opportunity? Israeli analysts have warned for years that conflict with Iran is predicted. Now, with Iran facing chaos on its own streets, the fear feeds closer than ever. History shows that wars often begin with internal crises, meet external pressure, and right now, Iran is facing both at the same time. This is not just a domestic uprising, this is a spark in a region already soaked in fuel, and when sparks appear in the Middle East, the fire really stays contained. As Iran's streets burned with anger, the message did not stay inside the country. It crossed borders, it reached Washington, and when it reached Washington, one familiar voice responded loudly: Donald Trump. Trump did not speak in vague diplomatic language. He never does. He openly said he was watching the protest in Iran closely. He warned that the Iranian leadership would be held responsible if peaceful protesters were harmed. And more importantly, he reminded the world that this administration would not hesitate to act if Iran crossed certain red lines. For Tehran, those words were not just rhetoric, they were a threat. Trump has a history with Iran, and it's not a calm one. During his previous presidency, he pulled the United States out of the nuclear deal, imposed crushing sanctions, and ordered the strike that killed Iran's most powerful military commander. Iranian leaders remember that very well. This is why Trump's comments landed like a warning shot. Inside Iran, state media accused the United States of encouraging and motivating protests to weaken the regime. Officials claimed foreign powers were encouraging chaos from the outside. In their view, the unrest was not just internal anger, it was a part of a larger plan to destabilize Iran. But for protesters on the street, Trump's words were heard differently. Some saw them as protection, others saw them as dangerous, because whenever the United States talks about regime change, history in the Middle East offers painful reminders of what often follows. At the same time, Trump's position sent a clear signal to America's allies. This administration is not interested in quiet negotiations with Tehran. It prefers pressure, maximum pressure, and that pressure does not stop with words. Military analysts began asking uncomfy questions. If Iran is unstable at home, would Washington push it harder abroad? Would sanctions tighten further? Would covert operations increase? And if Iran responds in a very aggressive way to show strength, how long before the response turns into open confrontation? This is where the story begins to shift from protest to geopolitics, because when the United States raises its voice, Israel listens carefully, and Israel has its own long-standing conflict with Iran, one that has never truly been hidden, only delayed. Trump's statement did not create the crisis, but they added fuel to it. They turned a domestic uprising into an international standoff. And they reminded everyone of one dangerous reality. When Iran is under pressure, the region really stays quiet for long. The question now is no longer just whether Iran can control its streets. The question is whether the growing pressure from inside and outside is pushing the Middle East toward its next major war. While Iran struggles to contain protest at home and pressure from Washington grows louder, Israel is watching every move with extreme focus. For years, Israeli leaders have described Iran as their most serious security threat. That position has not changed. What has changed is the timing. Israeli officials understand the internal unrest weakens governments. When a state is busy controlling its own streets, it has fewer resources to project power abroad. For Israeli security planners, this moment raises a critical question. Is Iran more vulnerable now than it has been in years? Reports from international media indicate that Israel has been reviewing and updating military plans related to Iran. These plans are not new, but the urgency around them appears to be increasing. Israel fears that if Iran advances its military capabilities while distracted by internal unrest, the long-term threat could grow even larger. At the same time, Israel is concerned about miscalculation. A weakened Iran may feel forced to show strength elsewhere through its regional allies or through direct confrontation. History shows that governments under pressure often act aggressively to restore deterrence. This creates a dangerous cycle. Protests weaken Iran internally. External pressure increases. Israel prepares for worst-case scenarios, and every step raises the risk of spark turning into a fire. Israeli leaders have not publicly declared war intentions, but their silence is strategic. Military readiness does not always come with announcement. Often it comes quietly, while the world is focused on something else, like protest in Tehran. Right now, Israel sees instability, uncertainty, and opportunity at all once. And in the Middle East, moments like this really pass without consequences. When When internal collapse meets external fear, the result is often conflict, not by choice, but by momentum. At this point, all paths began to narrow. Iran is facing pressure from every direction at the same time. On the inside, protests are testing the regime's control. On the outside, the United States is raising its tone, and Israel is quietly preparing for worst case scenarios. None of these forces operate in isolation, each one feeds the other. For Iran's leadership, this is a dangerous moment. Showing weakness could encourage more protest. Showing strength could provoke a military response. Every decision carries risk. If security forces crack down harder, international pressure grows. If they pull back, unrest spreads. This kind of balance rarely holds for long. History in the Middle East shows a clear pattern. When internal instability meets external hostility, conflict often follows, not because it was planned, but because events spiral out of control. A small incident can suddenly become a regional crisis. A warning can turn into a strike. Silence can hide preparation. Israel understands this pattern very well. So does Washington. And so does Tehran. This is why the language has grown sharper, the movement quieter, and the stakes higher. When what the public sees are protests and statements, what happens behind closed doors are calculations, red lines, and military readiness. No one has officially declared that war is coming, but no one is ruling it out either. And in geopolitics, that space between denial and preparation is often where wars are born. Right now, Iran stands at crossroads. One path leads toward reform, survival, and restrength. The other leads toward confrontation, escalation, and possibly war. The protests have exposed deep cracks inside the system. Trump's words have added pressure from outside, and Israel's silence suggests careful watching, no calm. The Middle East has entered another moment where history could change quietly. What happens in Iran's streets may shape decisions made in Washington and Jerusalem. And one decision, one mistake, or one unexpected move could push the region into a conflict that no one can fully control. This is not just Iran's story, it's a story about power, fear, and timing. It's still unfolding. What do you think happens next? Do the protests fade? Does pressure increase? Or are we watching the early signs of the next Middle East war? Leave your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned because this story is far from over.